So when did you get introduced to the great thing to like pain pills and things like that? About what age was that?
That was at 18, yeah, going to college. So it started then, and, we were I would take anything I could get my hands on, basically. And if one is good, two is better, more is better. I had the disease of more, not knowing that, that disease produces, great students, great work people, great athletes, and then it also produces, great alcoholics.
Hello and welcome to another exclusive interview by Recovery Today Magazine at recoverytodaymagazine.com, where first and foremost we're a magazine of hope. Whether you're considering addiction recovery for yourself, a loved one, maybe you're in recovery a little while or a long time, you're going to find all kinds of topics and information related to addiction recovery, really living a happy, successful, and sober life. My name is Rob Hanley. I'm the editor-in-chief of Recovery Today, and as usual, I have an amazing guest, somebody I'm really excited to interview. She is a recovered athlete from alcohol, spine surgery, overeating, and overtraining. Today, she's an accomplished mother and author after she wrote the Amazon bestseller, Quitting to Win, where in her book she shares her stories of tragedy to triumph. And that's really what we're all about here, is tragedy to triumph. I'm really excited to interview today Crystal Waltman. Thanks for jumping on, Crystal.
Thanks, Rob.
So let's kind of jump right into it. First of all, overeating, overtraining, alcohol, etc. But one of the things I thought that was really unique about you that I don't think I really know anybody, but you were a very accomplished, if I'm not mistaken, collegiate softball player. I mean, a very competitive softball player. Is that right? I mean, obviously from the cool painting behind you and everything there.
Thank you. Yeah, I played competitively from 10 to 20 and at the collegiate level, and trained hard, played hard, partied hard, all of the above.
All right. So, okay, so take us a little bit kind of through your story. I know that softball today, I mean, in 2020, women's softball is, I mean, it's been on ESPN for years. Kind of when I remember back when I was in high school, we had a girls softball team, but like collegiate softball is big time. I mean, there's a World Series, there's a championship. It's a really serious competitive sport. And so that was one of the things that intrigued me, that along with your story of chronic pain, back problems, spine surgery, and some things like that, also combined together with, overeating and everything like that. It was just a really cool story that we wanted to tell. And by the way, a shout out to our mutual friend, the amazing photographer who was and probably still is the incredible Bulk, our friend Tony Mandarich, which is how we had connected in the first place. So take us a little bit, tell us everybody a little bit about who you are and your story.
Yeah, so early on in high school, I started playing at 14, made the varsity team, and that put me with the 18-year-olds.
Ninth grade then, basically.
That's right, ninth grade. So I was playing with the 17 and 18-year-olds, and we were winners, and when we won, we celebrated. So that was my first blackout experience at the age of 14. And that feeling I just constantly chased for the rest of my life almost. Playing hard, celebrating, getting out of my head. Really, I didn't know there was any other way because everybody around me was doing it, so I didn't think that there was any problem with it. As long as I performed, I was raised with the performance God. As long as I performed and had good grades and, brought home trophies, everybody pretty much looked the other way and like, everything's fine. And then back pain started in college, playing college ball. And that's where did
you get an injury, or was it just repetitive, swinging the bat and things like that?
Yeah, just repetitive, high-impact lifestyle of, sliding into the bases, running, throwing your body everywhere, just training really hard. So, And then, with the alcoholism, that pulls on your bone marrow, and, you're just not as healthy. So yeah, it was just a recipe, you know, pretty much the perfect disaster.
Now, how good were you in not you, but the team? I mean, how did you guys do college-wise? I mean, this wasn't just, I know it's a smaller school because we talked on the phone, but what I want to get to is you guys were really good, right?
Yeah, yeah. So we were national champs my freshman year, and then sophomore year we were runners-up, but yeah, played all the way up to the national level. And we played by a theory of soldier softball. So even if you were hurt, you still wanted to play anyways because you wanted to start and you wanted to finish the 9 innings and you didn't want anybody else in your place. And, you know, there was people just chomping at the bit to get right behind you. So even if you were in pain, you wouldn't show it.
You know, this kind of leads into, we had chatted before the interview last week, kind of looking to set this up, and I told you that I thought a little bit as somebody, you know, pre-shutdown. I like to go to the gym a lot. I like to work out. And there's always this question of, like, whether you should push through an injury. Sometimes that's good for you, and sometimes it's decent to relax. But at the competitive level, when you're talking about collegiate-type sports, it's really the consequences are much more. You could lose your position. Once somebody's in that's performing, they're really reluctant to put somebody else in. Obviously, for the team good. Kind of how did that play into your psychology? Do you think that was something that really contributed, you know, more to problems that you had later?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in an era of no pain, no game, and you do what's best for the team, not what's best for the player. So, you know, if you could just put a Band-Aid on or have a pill or take something just to get through this game or get through this tournament and do what's best for the team, regardless of if you're increasing your injury or not generally what's best for the player. So that was the mentality of where I played in the culture that I grew up in, and that ultimately left me broken physically and emotionally.
When did you know that you first had or start suspecting that you had a problem with alcohol or drugs? Because I'm kind of already alluding that the pain and back injuries and things like that is going to probably lead into an opiate chapter of your story. But when did you start thinking, like, maybe I look at this differently than everybody else?
Yeah, so on my 20th birthday, I was out with some donors of the college, and we were celebrating. And I had some girls with me. We drove home, and I got pulled over on Scottsdale Road. And it was that they gave me a underage consumption ticket. We told them we were athletes. We had to get back.
I got one of those, actually.
Yeah, we have to get back to campus because we, have to play tomorrow and whatnot. And, don't you know who we are? You like, oh, yeah, we read about you in the paper. So it was kind of just underage consumption, call somebody to pick you up. We called our assistant coach. He came and got us. And as a result of that, I had to attend 10 meetings, classes, what they were called at that time, and pay a small fine. So it was just a real no big deal on the fine, and went to these classes. And it was sitting through those classes that I realized, like, blacking out isn't normal. I'm drinking different than other people.
Doesn't everybody black out? Right.
Right. And then, that like 12 questions that they give you when you walk in on that pamphlet and says, if you answer yes to 3 or more, then you might consider, that your life's unmanageable.
Mm-hmm.
So that planted the seed for me when I was 20. It took me another 15 years to get back to the rooms.
Wow. So, I already kind of had got, when you had said that you had started drinking at 14 in 9th grade, and so did I. As well, and I remember having thoughts even, in early high school and kind of having anxiety and thinking, I'm kind of my best self when I got a couple of beers in me. It was kind of what it was. But you're obviously an athlete. I mean, you can even look at yourself today. You look like an athlete. It's not somebody. I don't know what it is. I can tell somebody that's fit, and then you can also tell somebody that is an athlete. And the part that actually doesn't really jive with me, I understand maybe the part of your story about overtraining, but overeating seems really odd because I think of athletes as like their bodies are just very, peak.
Yeah.
How did that start? Because, I mean, especially in athletics, it's like you're very focused on performance rather than necessarily how you look and things like that. Where did that come from?
Well, The old school mentality was, you know, carb up before the game. And that has just really shifted and shown that, you know, the foods that we used to eat caused inflammation. Now that I'm generally plant-based, but the overeating came from you know, eating together as a team 3 meals a day. Basically, that's where it came from. Like, you got to show up, you got to eat. You had to show up no matter what because it was our team bonding, you know, so we ate together. We trained 2-a-days, we played together, we traveled together, we slept together, everything, we did everything together.
Wow. And
it wasn't the most healthy nutritional plan, as you know, institution-wise, that's just not what they serve in the cafeterias.
Right.
And so we just weren't eating that well, and it was like, make sure you eat so you can play. It was more, you know, that carb, and so I just had layers of fat on me, and, you know, that just, for every 10 pounds, you know, it weighs on your spine and just causes that much more pain and imbalance. And, you know, you can't help but think, like, if you took 20 pounds off, you'd make it quicker from home to first. But
sure. Back
then it was all about, like, explosion and power, and, you know, I could hit it out of the park, so therefore I didn't have to worry about getting to first base. Because if I made it to first, then I got a pinch runner.
Right.
So it was either out of the park or, you know.
That's funny.
That's real fun for me.
So the back pain starts about 20, you're saying, right?
Yeah, around 18, right? When I was in college and after a weekend tournament is when my pitcher and I, we were roommates, and we would just sit in our inflammation in our couch, and our teammates would come to us and the party would come to us, and we, you know, we couldn't move. You know, we spent hours in the training room afterwards in the ice cold bath, and, you know, always getting rub downs or massages or whatever to just try to relieve the pain. And we both were in extreme pain and continued to just play our hearts out.
So when did you get introduced to the great thing to you know, like pain pills and things like that? About what age was that?
That was at 18, yeah, going to college. So it started then, and, you know, I would take anything I could get my hands on, basically. You know, and if one is good, 2 is better, more is better. You know, I had the disease of more, not knowing that, you know, that disease produces, you know, great students, great work people, great athletes, you know, and then it also produces, you know, great alcoholics.
So how long did your addiction last then? And then when and how did you take us through a little bit of the journey of how you came out of alcoholism, drug addiction? Take us a little bit through overall how that happened, the journey, and, you know, what was your bottom, etc.
Yeah, so my bottom was, well, as an adult, I have stepsons, and we had them every other weekend, so it was just very easy for us to have a big bender of an adult weekend every other weekend. But then when my husband would go back to work, I wasn't able to stop. And being at home, you know, and then Monday, Tuesday, I'd be hungover. Wednesday, I'd start to feel better. Thursday, I'd start drinking again. And I was just on this terrible cycle. And I wanted to have a child, so I thought, well, let me go away to Bikram Yoga College for 9 weeks and, you know, change my environment. That'll get rid of the alcohol, right? Because it was you sign a contract to not drink while you're in yoga college. So I went to yoga college, and it was in Acapulco, Mexico, and I lived at the Scottsdale Fairmont Princess on the beach for 9 weeks with 300 people, and it was pretty much like college all over again. There were 7 different languages. I mean, it was just a fascinating time, but there was a little bit of corruption in the administration, and I don't know if you know anything about Bikram Yoga, but that was going on while I was there. And so I was like, oh, if I drink, nobody's going to notice because they've got enough stuff going on.
Right.
So, you know, it was a week or two before I found my drinking buddies in yoga college, and, you know, pretty much just partied for another 9 weeks and came out with a yoga certificate and, you know, loved yoga as well. And I really did think that it would heal my back. If I stopped working out, if I stopped impact training, then, you know, I really thought that I could heal my back. And I was like, I'm just too young to get surgery. I haven't seen that many success stories. So then I had a child, and then after child, taking 2 years off for breastfeeding, my body never metabolized the same. And I was always trying to catch that buzz, and then blackout drinking and driving with child just is not a good look.
No.
So my bottom was not being present, not being able to function, days in bed, drinking and driving, just not being able to function. I was pretty much, but I had everything around me, so my life looked great, lots of people taking care of me, and life around me. So from the outside, it did not look unmanageable.
Everything looked like you had the trappings of success to anybody that's out there. So what was your bottom?
Yeah, my bottom was drinking and driving, and my husband saying, you know, I'm going to have to divorce you if you don't stop this, because you are putting our child at risk.
Yeah, that can be a wake-up call.
And I've seen my friends, women, you know, my age, same age kids, go to jail, go live in Tent City. I've seen them lose their license for a year and not be able to drive their kids around. And, like, this one thing that I wanted so badly to be a mother, and then now I have it, and I wasn't even there.
Was your process a 12-step process? Was it something that was yoga integrated? How did you turn it around? Did you start going to meetings? Did you go to rehab? What was the first step then when you're faced kind of with this reality? What did you do?
Yeah, so I tried to rehab myself by going to Palm Springs and drying out for a week or two, or going to Miraval and trying that, or, you know, going to the spa. I tried the spa things on my own of just changing the location, but nothing worked for me until I got in the rooms and started the 12-step. And I got a sponsor. I knew this woman that was sober, and she was very elegant and just confident, and I was like, gosh, she's got a secret, you know, like she's got it all figured out. And then I realized that she didn't drink, so one day I was pushing my daughter on the swing in the front yard, and she came over, and she's like, how you doing? What's going on? And I'm like, how did you stop drinking? And she just looked at me, and she was like, well, I can teach you how. I go, I need help. I can't do this on my own. I've tried everything. I have tried everything. So she invited me to Sunday night, come to my house at 5. I thought we were going to go to dinner. We're driving to Paradise Valley, where some of the greatest restaurants are. We turn into this church, walk past the beautiful church into the back room, and there it is, like a room full of 100 people. They're greeting me at the door and hugging me, and I'm like, where are we? What's going on? And she said, welcome to your, you know, first AA meeting. And I had, like, been to that when I was 20, and it was a little different because it was people who didn't want to be there, very young sobriety. They didn't have that feeling of welcomeness. And there was 2 men sitting up front and just about 100 chairs in this, you know, air conditioning church meeting room. They were passing out tickets. I'm like, oh, is there a raffle? You know, am I going to bid on something? I didn't know what was going on with the tickets. So I sat through the meeting, and the speaker was, you know, our mutual friend Tony, and I listened to his story. So he was the first speaker that I ever heard, and I was just captivated by.
So for those, real quickly, for those that maybe don't know, I kind of had just mentioned him to give him a shout out of the incredible bulk. So his name is Tony Mandarich. And Tony was, I think, the #1, or certainly top 5. I'm guessing he's the #1 draft pick in the NFL as a lineman, a guard or a tackle in like 1988. And the guy's ginormous. He's like 9 feet tall, and you know, 500 pounds. He's just in solid muscle. He's really an amazing guy. He was one of our covers for Recovery Today. So for those that maybe don't know who necessarily Tony is, I want to give him adequate props. So you're at the meeting, Tony's speaking, he's very eloquent, the guy's really, really smart, and then go from there.
Yeah, so he was there, he got asked to speak because it was his anniversary, 25 years, and I thought, oh my gosh, he's like celebrity, he's infamous, he's now infamous, and here he is sitting in this room telling his story, and he was able to turn it around, and I was like, if he can do it, I can do it. Just like, you know, athlete mentality. If they can do it, I can do it. And that was it for me. You know, from that. Do
you think that gives somebody that has an athletic or a fit type of a background, do you think that gives you an advantage overall? I mean, this is a very insidious disease that tells you that you don't have a disease and things like that. But I do think that there's stuff that you bring in terms of, I mean, my mindset already is like, well, I've had success. You know, life is work and discipline. Do you think that that helped you overall with your recovery?
Well, yeah, in as much as it helped me drinking, it helps me recover. Because all I can do is get up every day and go, okay, what am I going to do today? One day at a time. And then I just got to take it back to the basics. You know, start with my morning ritual, and just like I was an athlete. So now I have a chapter in my book called Spiritual Fitness. And it's all about, you know, how do I reset my mind every day? And, you know, it's really a daily thing. Like, you're only as good as today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about yesterday. You're only as good as today. So, you know, get up, do the next best thing. So I went to that meeting, and then the lady that took me there, I asked her to be my sponsor. She said yes. She had gone through 3 or 4 husbands, several treatment programs, and still I looked up to her like she has it all together. And so when I realized that I could tell her anything and she wouldn't judge me, she didn't even flinch.
Because you know, like, you've been there.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was a relationship that I had never had before, the first relationship with my sponsor, because I could tell her anything, and she just gave me grace and still loved me. And I'm like, what do you mean? You know all my deepest, darkest secrets? And
yeah, you can. It's hard when. What's probably the thing I like the most about one of the things I like the most about recovery is the, you know, the non-shock value that you have on stuff. I mean, the ability to really be really real with somebody, and you know, you hear some of these stories and things like that, and they're completely crazy now, like in your sobriety, but there's just no pretense, I think, to it. That's the thing that I like, is just kind of the person-to-person authenticity of it all. So how did it progress? I guess the question I want to ask is the psychological side over the kind of the physical side of this, in terms of past traumas and things like that. Did that start right away? Where overall did that start for you? I know the first chapter of your book, you talk about a best friend that committed suicide, and the, you know, the trauma that leaves somebody.
yeah. Yeah, my best friend, she was a great athlete. She was a phenom. She was great at everything she did, full ride, you know, to the university. And once again, she had it all together on the outside. And we were home at Christmas break, and we were drinking and drugging, and she left my house and killed herself. She went to go visit a boyfriend, then went home and killed herself with her dad's gun. And it was such a shock to our community.
How do you not? The thing that everybody else is around is, you think, how did I not know, right?
How did I not know that? I guess that was the thing. Like, her and I used to rage together, and we would drink and party together, and we were very Jekyll and Hyde. Like, in day, we're like nice and shiny and show up and play, and at night, like, 2 completely different people. Like, nobody would believe that that was us at night, and if you met us at night, nobody would believe that you could pull that off during the day. I mean, it was just, I don't even know how we're still alive. You know, I can't believe that I am still alive. And then when she chose her life, I was crushed. I was ruined. I didn't understand why it was her, not me. And why didn't she take me with her? You know, I would have been, we were buddies. And so that allowed me to stop playing sports. It was that shook the whole town and the community and the universities, and they're like, what's going on now? Maybe we need to stop and ask our athletes, do you want to play? Are you okay? How are you feeling? So that kind of really shifted the psychology of the programs and everything. So, and I was like, no, I don't want to play anymore.
And what year was that? Were you, obviously you weren't were you a senior? Or
no, I played 2 years, and then after that, after my friend killed herself, I did not want to play anymore, and that left me physically broken, and I just went on a huge downward spiral after that, because I didn't know how to deal with the emotions, and what was happening was
Were you over the years suicidal as well, or the ideation?
Yeah, several times, right, close to her funeral, and then I had miscarried at one time, and didn't understand that. So yeah, a couple times, bottles of pills, hoping not to wake up. And every time I wake up, I can't believe I woke up. I'm like, why? Why do I still have to deal with life? I'm not prepared for it. So
how do you feel about trauma overall as like the root cause, kind of contributing factor to addiction and how to process it? I mean, how do you currently process? Because I think we have trauma all the time. Obviously, it's really extreme, but
yeah.
how did you deal with that trauma, or maybe are still dealing with that trauma? Because a lot of those things have ripple effects. I mean, we just don't forget things. But kind of what's your formula, if you will, for processing trauma?
Well, I think what I learned from the program is doing inventory and the feelings that I have of how to see, like, what's my part in it. And before, I don't think I was emotionally intelligent enough to deal with the feelings that I had, so I would just want to escape the feelings by drinking. So whenever I was happy, I would want to drink. If I was sad, I would want to drink. Anytime I start to feel a little angst, I would want to drink, happy or sad. And so now, going through the program and having the tools in my toolbox that I have, as soon as I start to feel that, I'm like, okay, what is that emotion? And, if it's positive, and then, like, just take a deep breath and, breathe it out. Like, just be still. So my new mantra is just be still.
I like it.
Before I would be like, I've got to go out. I was, and then realizing maybe that I had some social anxiety that I got from a young age because I was with older players and just always wanting to fit in, but realizing that, like, I needed a drink before I went out. When you're going out to drink, it was always, take a drink, take the edge off. I was always like, I need to take the edge off. Well, I have no edge. I mean, really, there's nothing. Overall, my life around me is pretty great, so it's all in my head.
Yeah, yeah. What role does faith play in your recovery now? I know I've seen on your social media you're pretty outspoken, but how does that fit into your journey?
Yeah, so alcohol. I guess God brought me to alcohol. Alcohol brought me to God. Alcohol brought me to my knees. And then, and in return, that brought me to have faith. But I did try to go to church before I was sober, and I was walking around there like an imposter. Knowing how, like, this isn't working for me, I wasn't connecting. So until I got sober, about a year or two into it, then I was able to go back to church and then really find that connection and be one with the people. Before, I didn't feel like I was.
And I'm guessing we're on the same page. I like church. I like to go to church. I've gone to a lot of churches. Obviously, right now we've been doing church online here and there, and it's actually been a little bit, somewhat here and there as well. But I think I really have a distinction between church. I like to go corporately, as they say, where you're around other people and you're singing and whatnot like that. But there's a big distinction. I know a lot of people think, they think of church and like spirituality, or church and God like as the same thing, where I'm assuming that's your thought as well? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I believe in a higher power. Whatever she looks like is, everybody has their own vision.
Yeah. Good. What about yoga? How does that fit into your recovery today as well?
Yeah, so I'll tell you about the first time I went to yoga. We were poolsiding just at a local resort, hanging out on a summer, and somebody next to me was getting antsy, and they're like, let's go to yoga. And I was like, well, I don't know what that is, but it sounds relaxing. So we go to this old town, a yoga studio. There's only one studio. This is probably like 25 years ago. There's only like one yoga studio in town. And so we're at the pool, we put on our flip-flops and our sarongs, and we go to yoga. We had been day drinking all day by the pool.
Nice.
We show up at yoga. I'm greeted by this stealth-looking, like, yoga ninja. She was in little black shorts, sleek black hair, had this aura about her, right? And she welcomed me. And then we go into the yoga room, and they put up the mat and the towel and the water, and it's hot and it's dark, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to take a nap.
This is like the hot yoga kind, the hot kind?
First time, the hot 90-minute Bikram, humidity. Yeah. So the poses start, and the first pose is, you know, just put your arms up over your head and lean to the side, and all of a sudden my vision starts going in and out, and I'm like, I can't focus. I pass out. I wake up with firemen around me out in the lobby of the yoga studio because I was dehydrated and, you know, a quarter vodka into it. So that's my first yoga experience, and then from there I go on to become a teacher and a phenomenal, you know what I mean, and I've just taken it a whole.
Why is it that people in recovery so much gravitate to yoga? I mean, we were talking, I was like, yeah, I need to start doing yoga again here and there. I just feel I don't know what it is, but why do people in recovery just gravitate toward it so much?
I think because you can shut your mind off. One, there's no judgment. As long as you just stay on the mat, you know, it's not about the postures. It's about just getting in there and trying to shut your mind off. And I think they can shut somebody's telling you exactly what to do and how to move and where to move, and you just can shut your mind off for 90 minutes and let it go and decompress. So, yeah. And that first day I went there, she said, just stay on your mat. And I'm like, and then when the class started, she said it again. Okay, I'm going to start the class. Everybody said, I'm like, why does she just keep saying stay on the mat? Because staying on the mat is the hardest. It's hard. Yeah. You know, you want to run for that door that's open. As soon as you start to feel uncomfortable and you feel those beads of sweat, or you're feeling a little bit tight, or you feel something, you're like, I want to get out of here. I want to run. And I've watched people just transform through yoga. And the ones that have the hardest first classes are the ones that usually come back day after day after day because they got hooked. And then, you get that natural high. So that's the second thing that I think why people go to yoga is because they feel that natural endorphins of you're just like glowing for the rest of the day.
Yeah, your body feels good. Then you start looking good. I was thinking it's about kind of like a biofeedback loop. You start seeing yourself, think, wow, I look better. People respond to you differently as well. You feel healthier, more energy probably.
Yeah, and then, there's the thing where you're looking at your third eye in the mirror the whole time, where you're going through a cycle of self-acceptance physically, from the outside. So that can take away your social anxiety because you're starting to accept self as is and whole.
Take us a little bit through your journey I know you had spine surgery, so I mean your back pain and stuff like that, all this pain that you had, it didn't just stop when you were sober. So how did you process that? How do you continue to process that, or did it get all fixed? Because chronic, injury and chronic pain is something that is a huge contributing factor to people addicted to opiates. So how did that transpire for you?
Yeah. So after getting sober, and, after a solid year in the program, that was all I could do was be sober for like a whole year. I did, 90 meetings, 90 days. Every day I went to a meeting. For almost a year, I couldn't function in real life. I was so nervous. It was like walking on eggshells. And it took me a whole year to kind of get my footing back to where I could go to restaurants and socialize, where I used to drink martinis, or even pulling into parking lots. I would get like this anxiety, because I would drink there. So it took me a solid year before I kind of entered back into the world. All I could do was take my daughter to school, go to a meeting, go for coffee after a meeting, maybe go to a yoga class and pick my daughter up, have dinner, and then rinse and repeat and do it all over again. And so that took me a good solid year to get my footing back. And I didn't even know if I'd ever be able to socialize again. I thought my life was over when I first got sober. I didn't know if I would be able
How do you do it? Yeah, how do you do it when you're not drinking and stuff? Yeah.
To socialize at all. So after a year of going through, getting my footing back, entering back into life, I started to play with my daughter more at the park and take her back, go to Diamondbacks games or Disneyland or whatever, the fun mom stuff and parent stuff that you want to do with your kid. Now she's around 4 years old. So a super fun age. So after going out with her, then on Monday, I take her to school, and I was in back pain again. So just because I got rid of the alcohol, it actually made me allow to feel how much more pain I was in. And I'm like, wow, I am in a lot of pain. And then I started documenting, like, how many days I was missing because of my pain or my inflammation. And then once again, I was back on that. I would participate with the family Friday, Saturday, Sunday, go, go, go. And then Monday, Tuesday, I was back in bed again with pain. And I'm like, I cannot live like this. And I was so scared to go to the doctor because I didn't want to take any pills because I was completely sober at this time. And I was petrified to get surgery. So after talking to a bunch of people and my sponsor and get a naturopath and seeing how do people go through surgery sober? What does that look like? You know, and getting a plan together. And then I just realized that I was in a lot of pain. And then one day I was lifting a laundry basket, and it was like somebody shot me in the back. I was lifted up and over, and it was just like, pow. I passed out in my closet, army crawled across the bathroom floor, and I had like dry tears on my face. I wasn't crying, but I was like pain tears. It was really bizarre. I got to a phone. I was able to call my husband and say, pick up my daughter from school. And then next day, I couldn't walk. My left leg was dragging. So I had very instability and broken spine from years of playing. And then I just, boom, massive herniated disc, which is, my leg was dragging. It was pain like I had never felt. So 4 days later, I was in surgery. And they said, we can do a little bit of surgery and immediately fix the pain, or we can do the most surgery. And he's like, you're young, you're fit. I want to do the most surgery on you. And he was an athletic doctor. So we agreed to a plan of 7-hour surgery. And it was like 3 hours into the back, put in the rods, give me fake disc, 8-inch rods, sew me up, take a break, flip me over, go back into the side for another 3 hours. So it was a 7-hour surgery.
So you still have the rods and everything in now?
I do. Yeah, they're all in there.
You set the metal detector off at the airport?
Oh, well, I have the fancy titanium stuff. It doesn't show up.
I don't know.
So, yeah, the metal's improved a lot since then, but I have all that metal, and it took me a year or two then to recover from the surgery.
God almighty.
Because they don't want you to bend, twist, or lift. Once again, I couldn't participate with my daughter. So the whole
You'd want to just drink then too, right? I mean, you know, wouldn't you?
But overcoming, getting sober, and then having spine surgery, like I just didn't think I was going to make it to 40. I could never picture myself to 40.
Me either, actually. Me either.
No,
the time for me was with about 40 though, was when I really started having really, really serious depression, actually, in my early years of college, stress and things like that. And I remember people would say, I don't know if it's for you, but for people would say, oh yeah, like when you're 40, and I would immediately, I didn't even have to think about it, and I thought, I'll never be 40.
I'm never going to make it.
I'll never be 40. Not like I can't make it, it was just like factual, like, I'll never be 40.
Well, you know, when people die, like jumping out of a plane, and they're like, oh, they died doing what they love, or did their mountain biking, and, you know, they died somehow, and I'm like, yeah, I'm probably going to die doing what I love, an 8-ball and, you know, martinis. Like, are you going to say that about me when I die?
Right.
I didn't think I thought it was going to go out like Anna Nicole.
So you overcame or overcoming all of these different things, alcohol, opiates, you know, you've gone through pain surgery, overeating and things like that. So what's the deal? Why did you write the book? I mean, where did that come from?
So, yeah, like I said, I didn't think I was going to make it to 40. So on my 40th celebration, I was there sober, and I just thought, you know, I am going to write a book. And if I can help one person that was...
Who is it for? Is it for young athletes, the parents of young athletes, overeating people, alcohol people, females? Like, who's it for, do you think? When you're writing that, who did you write it for?
So I wrote it to my younger self.
Oh, okay.
And then I started coaching softball again when my daughter's 8, and I coach on 3 different teams all the way up to 18. So I have 3 different groups of ages of girls that I coach. 8 years old, 13, right where you start to going through the change of, these pivotal things that can happen to your body, and your body's starting to change, and then 18-year-olds that are getting ready to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
So I started, I pouring into them just everything that I've learned. And so, yes, you mentioned all my audience. It's basically young athletes, anybody with alcoholism that's a mom that thinks like, oh, from the outside it all looks good, but really I'm dying inside. I can't go on anymore like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's for parents of athletes. It's for people with back pain. And, basically anyone.
You cover a lot of different groups there. I know that you're talking about. I asked you, so are you coaching? And actually, are you a coach? Like, how do you, besides the book, I don't want to say what's the objective of the book, but like, what do you? Is that one of the hats that you wear then? Is coaching people, speaking? What else? Or besides coaching softball, what else do you do?
Yeah. So for many years, I competed and I coached on food and nutrition.
Okay.
That was simple. That was like, down to the macros and stuff. But now I like coaching the spiritual side of fitness. So the more of the whys, not just more internally of like, why do you want to do that? And knowing that, standing on this stage with the first place trophy, if you don't go about it and you don't have your whys right, you're going to end up empty and broken and be like, oh, this is it.
So what is your why then? What is your life why?
My why is to carry the message. And
okay.
That's my whole, every day I wake up and say, how can I be of service to somebody else? I need to call 3 friends and say, how are you? Basically, I have to do that just to get out of my own head.
Right.
And I don't know why I have another chance at life. And I've had so many chances, but if I can just help one girl or one mom find serenity and not be in pain, then it's all worth it. So basically, that's why I wrote the book, was just, and the other thing is, and maybe you've experienced this with being in the rooms, but there's still that, what goes on in the room stays in the rooms, right? So you're still living, to me, I felt like I was still living a part of a secret life because I wasn't all the way out with like this group of people that I was with all the time. So yeah. I felt like I needed to out myself to just really live my truest, best, authentic life, because I still felt a pull of, there's these people over here and these people. And when I would see people, which I did often see people like at the gym, you kind of give each other a little nod, and, you see each other in the rooms, and you have a respect for each other now because you're out doing the right thing. But I really wanted to write this book to out myself and release the shame and guilt. So, and I told stories in there that I've never told anyone. So to write that out and to let that go is like closing the chapter. So it's pretty much my stories from 20 to 40. And then, now I'm on to a whole nother path and I would love to speak and coach, business and just carry the message. So yeah, that's what I'm doing.
It comes out, that actually comes out naturally, especially on coaching 3 different teams and things like that. I have a similar kind of desire. I like to learn information and then transfer it as much as I can. So the whole idea of, I like to tell people, don't step there, watch that, there's something right there. Or you might want to consider this, or why are you doing that type of a thing. I just feel like it's kind of the whole, I don't know if everybody feels that way. It's maybe a part of being a parent, but I deal with everybody as well, or suggest things or tell people things in order to try to be helpful, really try to be of service. Do you have people? One of the things I was thinking about the other day, I posted something on social, and they said, "What about anonymity?" So, kind of on the whole idea that I wanted to out myself and things like that. What are your thoughts on kind of the whole, I want to, being anonymous, or sometimes people will even say like, "Oh, you're doing it for attention," or "You're doing it for a business." How do you wrestle with those kind of thoughts? Or do you?
Well, I did, and I talked through it for a couple of years with my pastor and a couple different people in the group. I went to the group and, studied, make sure I was doing, honoring the traditions and dealing with all that in the right way. So, I went through a step program, and that's what worked for me.
Yeah.
But I also did relapse. I am not the program. The program is its own program, and whether I win or fail, that doesn't, look bad on that. But I felt that for me, it was just best to be honest with it. And, and socially, in the first few years, I would go out and just be like, oh, no, thank you. Oh, no, thank you. Oh, I'm busy. I got, when you walk into a social situation, somebody hands you a drink, or they're, can I get you a drink or whatever. I was more just, I wouldn't say like, no, I don't drink. I never said that. I was just like, oh, no, thank you. Maybe, oh, I got to go say hi to somebody. I was just diversion all the time because I didn't really want to face it, and I wasn't ready for them to stop and question me. But then over the years of me not drinking, people started to say, oh, well, I know she,
You want a lot? They start offering you pop or water, or we have this and that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was almost the other way around. I started immediately defining myself as a non-drinker. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even like I'm going to stop. It was just really this definition of who I was. Like, I'm just a person that doesn't drink. Sometimes I joke, I say I'm the designated driver. I'm the guy that doesn't drink. No, that's good. I'll have a Coke. Oh, you don't drink? No, I don't. I intentionally always try to make it not a big deal. Like,
right. It's not a big deal. I got stuff to do tomorrow. I got I want to wake up and feel good. I got a million things to do.
Yeah, and if anybody drills down, then you can go, you really want to know the story? Okay, so.
Yeah, and then so people would start asking me outside, and they say, oh, I'd love to tell you about it over lunch sometime or something, And then I'm a little bit older mom than some of the moms around my school, and, there's like this level of respect of, wow, she's got great boundaries, and wow, she can, say no to something without even feeling bad. It doesn't seem to carry the heaviness of being a mom of, I have to do everything, and I have to show up for room parent, and I have to, be on PTO, and I have to do all that. And so they'll ask me, like, why don't you feel like that? I'm like, well, this is my second time through because I had stepkids. And also, I just have great boundaries, and I'm not apologizing for it. Like, my sponsor really helped me. I would meet with her once a week.
And do you sponsor people yourself now too, by the way, or no?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I connect. I try to get on. Like right now, I probably get on 2 Zoom meetings a week, but I call 2 to 3 sober friends a day.
Cool.
And yes, it's you sponsor people, and hopefully they make it, but not all of them do, right? So
yeah.
Right now, I don't have any active, but I think this virus, people will really have shown their colors, and if they had a problem, it might have maximized it, and then now it's like, oh, well, call Crystal.
What do you see the good, what good do you see coming out of the whole virus thing? I've been pretty angry about it and stuff like that. I've had a lot of feelings to process over the last few months, but what are your thoughts?
Well, it got me out of the rat race of after school time from like 2 to 7. I was in the car driving and coaching 3 different teams. So 5 days a week we were training, coaching, throwing the ball around on the field. And I don't know that I would have ever been able to get out of that. Once you start that with a child, I mean, it's nonstop, and you just keep going. So that was the biggest blessing, is that I was able to just sit with her and be still and put our feet in the pool and just, laugh and not like always be going somewhere. I mean, once you start the school age stuff, you're always like, get in the car, get out of the car, pack your lunch, put your shoes on, and it's so nice to not have to be anywhere or do anything. And then as far as like the workout thing, so of course all the gyms closed and everything.
But you do yoga. You can do yoga anywhere,
You can, but not with the heat. If you're into the heat, but you can do yoga anywhere. And if you eat well, you don't really need to work out that much. I mean, and that leads me to my plant-based life of, plant-based eating reduces inflammation.
I watched that movie, by the way, the Netflix Schwarzenegger movie. What's it called again?
What did you think of Game Changers?
Look, I'm a carnivore. Well, I'm not a. In fact, I discovered only about 8 or 9 months ago, like there are vegans, because it's funny. Plant-based is actually vegan. They should have just said vegan, right? So, which I thought was interesting. It's like Kentucky Fried Chicken calling themselves KFC. Like it's vegan. It's not plant-based. It's vegan.
So it tricked you into watching it?
Yeah, a little bit. I was intrigued. So it was really interesting. I like the science side of it, and I have to say, I fell asleep on it. I watched it late at night, so I kind of rewound it. I watched it a few parts twice, and I told some friends, and I joke with my wife, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna become a vegan now. So because I've got inflammation and I've got different stuff, and then losing weight is a little bit. But I just, I like to barbecue, man. I like ribs. I like steaks. I like eating meat, and I think I like being an omnivore and then making fun of it. I don't mean it that way. If somebody's actually a vegan, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I like teasing about it. I've got a friend that's at the gym he's built like a brick house, and he's a vegan, and at any rate. It made me think, I have to say it made me think, but then there's people that are carnivore, which I had discovered that there's people that eat nothing but meat, and they don't eat any fruits or vegetables, and they swear that that's the most, and then there's keto people, and there's intermittent fasting people. I just wonder, like, what really is the way? So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so during, COVID, closed all the restaurants.
Yeah.
So they brought you back to natural eating. And
yeah.
if you eat well, then it would just like a miracle happen. Like you don't even have to work out. You wake up, you feel good. You're not swollen from the salt from the restaurant, and it just so brought me and my daughter back to healthy eating. And
so how long have you been vegan? How long have you been plant-based?
Yeah, about 2 to 3 years now.
So you don't eat fish at all or anything?
No.
Wow.
I less than 10%, like I will still cook with meat as flavoring. Men might have a bite once a week, but I don't want it to turn on cancer, and I believe that meat turns on cancer. So
all right, so what was the part that you had said, like you're either getting better faster, or what was the thing you said?
Yeah, so if you eat, food can either be the slowest poison
that's
or
what
the best medicine.
Slowest poison or best medicine?
So you're either, by everything you put in your body's alive, so either you're putting something in your body that is killing you, or you're putting something in your body that's keeping you alive.
Yeah.
So I like to eat live food,
Have you got Tony to be plant-based vegan yet, or no?
Well, he's watched the show, and we joke a lot about broccoli. That's for
sure. That guy is a steak eater, if anything. That guy's a side of beef eater. Tony is. If you can get Tony to be plant-based, I would be. I don't know. Maybe I'll even do it for a period of time. I don't know.
Well, look at Arnold. Like I would have said the same thing about Arnold, and he made the movie.
And I'm a big Navy SEAL, Special Forces guy, David Goggins kind of person. And so I like the opening guy, the guy that was training the Special Forces guys, guy's a badass. He's an extreme athlete. So was the strongest man in the world. I did ask one of my friends about it the other day. He's very conspiracy-minded. He goes, oh, yeah, man, like that. Then I did some research on it, and it was all, it's all from this whole perspective, this whole agenda, So it's so hard to know. I'll just have to experiment myself and see how I like it. That's probably what I'll do.
Yeah, I just know when I eat plant-based, I feel better. So, I eat real food.
That's about as simple as it overall can get.
It's as simple as it gets. And
yeah. Well, how do people get back to you? What if somebody likes, they got a son or a daughter that's actually in some kind of competitive sports? Maybe they have a problem, they don't. Maybe they are in competitive sports, or they have back pain or whatever. They want to connect. They want to find out, learn more. Obviously, buying your book. It's on Amazon. It's Quitting to Win. What if they want to connect to you directly?
Yeah, so just, go to my website, crystalwaltman.com, and I'm developing 2 courses right now that are going to come out this summer, and one is called Back Talk, and it's for people with back pain, either pre or post-surgery. And then the other one is an anti-inflammatory course, which is learning about being plant-based.
Plant-based,
And then,
plant-based yoga, things like that. I'm assuming.
yeah, and both of them deal with pain, right? Because if you're in back pain, we're going to adjust that, and if you reduce inflammation, that'll help release pain. And all disease starts with pain. So, I mean, all disease starts with inflammation. Yeah, which
yeah,
is
it does. Big believer of that, and I'm a big believer in no sugar type of a thing. Although I got to say I like ice cream quite a bit, so that's kind of a tough one there as well. Well. Look, it was really great to connect with you. For anybody that's out there that wants to connect with Crystal, it's Crystal Waltman, Crystal, Waltman, WALTMAN.com. Her book, Quitting to Win. Like I said, when we connected originally just on email, looking through some of your stuff, talking on the phone, I was like, what a cool person. Back pain, overeating, the mental side of it, faith side of it, etc. I think you just, you're hitting on a lot of different areas that people really need help with today. So just thought it was really, really cool, and it would be great for a conversation. So I appreciate you taking a minute to jump out.
All right. Well, thanks, Rob.
Absolutely. If you hang on just a second, I'll stop the recording. This has been another exclusive interview by Recovery Today magazine.